Hello, this is Deborah with Black Education TV, and I'm going to be discussing a young woman who was kidnapped at birth almost 20 years ago. Her name is Kimiyah Mobley. Now, she was on the show Iyanla Fix My Life. That's a show that airs on OWN Network. And as I watched the show, I saw how, basically how Iyanla, she goes in and she talks to people about their situations, and she tries to give them workable solutions to different family issues they have or family situations. And she uses an approach that some agree with and some do not. Okay. Her approach may not be to your liking. Some people may like her approach, but that's not what I'm here to discuss. I'm here to discuss the young lady herself, Kimiyah Mobley. As I watch this, okay, now I can't imagine as a parent what it would be like to have my child kidnapped and raised by someone else, and you're trying to, you meet them almost 20 years later, and you're trying to form a relationship with them, but the child has grown a liking or a love for the person who kidnapped them. I can't imagine what that's like. Likewise, I can't imagine what this child must be feeling, or she's not a child now, she's an adult. I can't imagine what that's like to have all of this just brought on you like that. The woman that you thought was your mother isn't. And the people who are actually your parents, they want into your life. They want to be a part of your life. That is a lot to process. I want to say that up front because many of you are not going to like the direction that I take this commentary. Because sometimes we tend to forget that there is a way to do everything. There is a way to do everything. Now, having said all of that and letting you know that I do look at the situation and I understand from the parent's point of view, from the child's or the young woman's point of view of having to process all of this. The issue that I'm having, any of you who saw that episode, it's posted on YouTube. The episode showed where the young woman, she basically popped off in such a massive rage of disrespect at the show's host, Iyanla, that it's hard to ignore what is before our eyes. And a lot of people are excusing the behavior because, well, look at what she's been through. Look at what she's processing and all this different stuff. And so essentially justifying the behavior. I mean, she's calling this woman a bitch. She's talking about putting her hands on her, talking about what she's going to do to her, and telling the woman, get out of my face and shut your mouth. Why are you talking to me? You have to look at the episode to see the utter disrespect and how this rage just came spilling over out of this young woman. Now, when you watch the episode, the initial parts show how Iyanla is embracing the young woman, holding her, loving on her, and just giving her the care that a mother would give her. She's showing all this love and compassion as she's talking through the things or the emotions that this young woman is experiencing. Okay. I tend to look at things from a biblical standpoint. That is not permissible. The Most High looks at that. He doesn't look at it the way we look at it. Many of us, we like to excuse that type of behavior, and we like to say, well, you don't know what this person has been through, and you don't know what they've had to endure, and you don't know what they're feeling. All of those to me are excuses because she's gone on other shows and talked, and she did not disrespect those hosts the way that she did Iyanla. She did not show that type of disrespect. Not to say that she should have. What I'm trying to say is for her to show that kind of disrespect to someone who was reaching out to her family and trying to help them to understand different emotions she may have been experiencing, that to me is just totally out of order. Those of you who are sympathizing with her because of what she's going through, that is okay to sympathize with the emotions and feelings she must have, knowing that her mother that raised her is not really her mother and actually kidnapped her. That is okay. But when you start excusing rough behavior, bad behavior, wicked behavior because of someone's traumatic experience, when you start to justify, that's the problem that we have as a people. We think that just because a person has been through something in their life, that should justify any behavior that follows. That was the whole idea with the whole Black Panther Killmonger thing. We think because he didn't get a chance to live in Wakanda and that he didn't get a chance to be raised by his dad because he was killed, that this gives him a reason or an excuse to be the kind of villain that he was. You see, with this young woman, anyone who has any sense at all knows that her reactions were completely dishonorable, very disrespectful. And if you're honest with yourself, you know how the Most High views that. The Most High is the one who allows things to come up on us, you see. And so he's not sitting up in heaven saying, oh, she's been through a rough time, so I'm going to excuse her behavior. This young woman was threatening Iyanla to the point where I believe they said it was one of her sons that actually had to come in and help get this young girl off the stage, get this young woman off the stage, as if to defend his mom. That's it. What I saw on one video. I don't know if it's her son or not, but he was definitely not having that. He was definitely trying to put a block between her and the host of the show. You see. Which is very, very understandable because you have this young woman all up in this woman's face talking about what she's going to do. She's literally threatening bodily harm. And most of the people that I saw did not agree with that behavior. But I did see those who were saying, but she's been through so much. She's been through so much trauma. Let me tell y'all something. We have all experience some type of trauma in our lives, some worse than others. You have some who've lost their parents, whose family members have been killed, who've been raped, molested. You've had people who've lost their children, lost parents. I mean, you've had people who've had all kinds of things happening to them who don't act the way this young woman did. Now, that's not to diminish or lessen what she's just found out about her own life. That's not to diminish that at all. I can imagine it's devastating to find out that your whole life has been a lie. But does that give you a reason or excuse to behave the way that she did? That's the point that I'm trying to drive home, because too many times our people coddle bad behavior. We coddle it to the point where people grow up in this. This young woman is either she's almost 20 or she's 20 years old. So she is an adult. Over in some African nations, you reach adulthood in what the West calls your teen ages. You see, in biblical times, Mary was a teen, and she was married to Joseph and gave birth to the Messiah. You see, we're stuck in this perpetual youth over here to where people disregard behaviors, excuse them, coddle them, and say that they're just a child. She is not just a child. She is not just a child. And all of that rage that's built up in her, all of that anger that she displayed, any of you who say she has a right to feel that way, we have a right to do a lot of things. All things are lawful, but not expedient. As long as you sit back and talk about your right to have rage and your right to express your feelings and your right to behave a certain way, you're the person who you'll see on the news who said, "Oh, my mom made me mad, so I had a right to express my anger, and so this is why I did this, that, and the other to her." Or my dad did something I didn't like. I was very disappointed. And this is a whole different story, and I'll get back to the young lady, Kimiyah Mobley. But I was very disappointed to hear that there was a young man, a college student, so-called Black African-American young man, whose parents got him in college so that he can have a better life. He didn't agree with something that they did. This young man killed both of his parents. Two very professional Black people killed by their son, who they were trying to raise to be a certain way. Now, again, when you have a person who has a certain mindset, they're going to sympathize with the young man and say, well, who knows why he did this? Who knows what he's been through? Who knows this, that, and the other? And when you look deeply at these cases, a lot of times is I didn't get what I want, so this is this is why I did what I did. You see, and so it's a little frustrating when you see these type of behaviors from young people who should know better. Very frustrating to see large groups of people defending these behaviors. I mean, I think because many of us have been in a situation to where we may have gone through something that rubbed us the wrong way. It doesn't have to be the same thing. Not all of us were kidnapped at birth and were separated from our biological parents for 20 years. But many people have gone through so many other things. Like I talked about those who have been molested and all kinds of things. But that does not give you an excuse for bad behavior. I mean, I've heard stories of so many people who have gone through some horrendous things, some horrible things at the hands of people who are supposed to love them. And they did not respond this way. And so it was very disturbing to watch this young lady acting like this and her biological father, because he has this fear, well, I don't want to lose her again. He's kind of like in a position, well, I have to let her have her way because I don't want to lose her again. If she is to the point where if I can't have my way, then I just won't see you anymore, maybe you should let her go. I'm sorry. If a person is giving you ultimatums, especially a child, your child, giving you ultimatums of if I can't have my way, then you won't see me anymore, it's probably time to cut ties. Back in biblical days, they didn't play this kind of mess. They did not play this kind of mess. And we're living in a day and time to where we feel like we have to coddle mess. We can know people are wrong, whether it's your children, it could be your own parents, your friends, people you know, people in society, period. We feel like we have to coddle mess to keep people happy. And then we sometimes say, just to keep the peace. You ain't keeping the peace. When you let an unruly person be unruly and be disrespectful, you are not keeping the peace. And usually those who sympathize with these kind of people are usually that way themselves. They know that they have a tendency to pop off and be threatening people's lives and all kinds of things. And so they sympathize with her. Instead of seeing it for the wrong that it is, they are sympathizing with her. You see, and the other people that sympathize are people who don't even have kids in some cases and have never experienced anything like this. And so you're saying, well, the bigger person would do this, that, and the other because she's gone through this. When you try to be a psychologist and you're trying to analyze these kind of situations and you don't have a reference point, you've never had kids, you don't know what it's like to be disrespected by a younger person or your child or someone in the community. Of course, you're going to analyze, you're going to be on social media saying how people could have handled things because you've never really been in a real life situation such as this. Even though Iyanla addressed her and dealt with her in a very patient way, she did say, I wash my hands of this. She says people got to want help. I wash my hands of it. And she motioned her hands as if to say, I'm washing my hands of this. You see, she was being disrespected on her own platform by a young woman who, if she doesn't get herself under control, she is going to incur judgment in her life or chastisement in her life by the Most High Yah. It is what it is, family. You can't grow up with that type of behavior. And see, what I find interesting, too, I don't know what this was all about. It actually seemed like a spirit entered her at some point because even her family said they have never seen her react this way. They have never seen her react this way. So it could very well be that a spirit entered her and was acting out in her. They said that they reached out to her and her family again, and they haven't responded back as of yet. We've seen her on other shows. And like I said, that same air of disrespect didn't show up. And for those of you who say, well, Iyanla pushed her buttons, what buttons does she push that caused this young lady to act like that? Because we all saw what was happening. She was trying to enter her into a stage to where she can be helped. And she had indicated that she could spend the night there, and that she told her dad and her boyfriend to not answer her calls, to give her some time to go through this phase. But she also told the young lady, look, it's your choice. You don't have to stay. You don't have to stay. It's your choice. It's like her mind completely ignored that the woman wasn't going to force her to stay. She was offended that she was calling these people and they weren't picking up the phone, because it was suggested by Iyanla that they not pick up the phone. So she was so enraged by that we saw that display that we saw. That angry explosion in which too many people, I felt, were justifying that. Now, on the other hand, you had those who were saying, look, had that been my mom, they talked about how their mom didn't play that kind of mess, how their dad didn't play that kind of mess, and how they would have responded, in which the young woman wouldn't have liked how they would have responded. You see, it's like we are trying to deal with, I'm going to just be honest with you, even about Iyanla, you're trying to deal with people who have demons with secular human understanding. And so you're going to get these types of behaviors. I've seen a number of different of her episodes on YouTube to where people have this very disruptive, rude behavior. When you are trying to deal with people with a secular understanding and not a spiritual understanding, you're going to get this type of behavior. The Bible says that the wisdom of this world is foolishness to Yah. It's foolishness to him. So you can try to psychoanalyze people with your degree and with your experience and with your perceived knowledge of what you think you know. Not saying that the woman doesn't know anything, but too many times, people are trying to deal with those who have demons with secular understanding. That is what's happening, family. When you're using the wisdom of this world to try to deal with people who have spirits or demons, you are not going to help them solve anything. I don't claim to know everything. I know I don't know everything. But it does help to have an understanding of how the spirit world works, how demons work, how the human flesh works. It helps. Because you can try to analyze people psychologically all you want to. You can give them a mental analysis all you want to. But at the end of the day, some of these people need an exorcism. And with that, I will say shalom.